Hello, BookTube. I said I'd be back, so I'm back. So I've been thinking about rearranging my library. I'm not going to be doing it this week or this weekend. I'm going to wait until I do my my July book haul. I've already got 2 in. I think I have like 5 more coming in, although I might buy a few more as the month progresses. But I want to take this time to really think about how I want to rearrange my collection. Um, and then play around with different ideas, and then the last weekend of the month or the first weekend of August actually break down and do a bit of a reorganization and rearrangement. So my filming location might be a bit different. Sorry about that. Good Lord. A telemarketer, and because obviously you heard the phone go off in my last video, and in this video we finally got the voicemail. Probably junk. Let me check real quick. Oh, not who I thought it was. Anyway, I'll check that after this video. So yeah, I'm going to go through and rearrange things and maybe do some reorganization. I don't know. I mean, I've been thinking lately a lot about how I want my collection to look. Like what I want in my library and what I don't. Do I want a general collection where I have books from many genres? Do I want a more working library where I have like a lot of science fiction and fantasy, which is the genre I want to write in, even if you've watched my previous video, the writing one, I've had difficulties writing science fiction and fantasy, which it's like, as much as I love the genre, maybe that's not the right genre for me to write in, given that my writing process is about as tortured as literary fiction's writing process should be. But and then have like a lot of history, which, I mean, not only as a practical sort of research, but also generally speaking, history and nonfiction in general really have blown fiction out of the water this year. I've practically loved so much of the history I've been reading. Even the driest, most theoretical. Fire and Blood by Enzo Traverso is great, even if it is, rather difficult. But and then also kind of starting to look into getting more science and math books, because I mean, as much as I write science fantasy, I would also like to try my hand at science fiction proper. But I need those resources. I'm not as well versed in science as I am in history. I mean, obviously that's my history shelf, and my science, I think I only have 2 science books. So yeah, I need to work on that. So I mean, a more working library, or just whatever I want whenever I want it. And so maybe, like, I was thinking, having gone through my old library, the little library tour I did last week of the books I used to have, and a lot of, particularly the poetry, I would like to have back. So would I do something like, say, take my brother's bookcase over here, the 2 quarter shelves, you put like some volumes of poetry there, and then the lower 3 shelves do, like, say, some kind of Penguin classics or Penguin and assorted classics, because I think I have a few Penguin classics, but I have a few other editions, and I don't think I necessarily would want to get rid of those to get Penguin classics. So it'd just be like classics. and then get more literary fiction, more drama, more literary criticism, more general nonfiction, more everything, up until I pretty much, um, my bedroom library becomes a supernova and I have to go purge the collection when I run out of space. I mean, right now I'm pretty good on space. My brother's bookcase has one whole shelf I can use. This bookcase here has 3 shelves I can use. My literary fiction shelf has a one, and then I have, move out of the way, I have a whole shelf right here that I can double side, so I can get 8 to 10 shelves worth of books there. So as far as, although where exactly I'm going to put that shelf to make it usable with the other one, because one of my ideas I want to have is to put those two open-ended shelves relatively close together, so I can maybe put like all of the science fiction there, and then be able to consult both shelves rather easily. So that's one thing I'm looking into doing. But anyway, so getting back to having a bit of a conundrum this coming August and October is I have a few, well, I've got pre-orders that basically are already nuking my book budget. So I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to stick with just go ahead and buy them all or knock some of them out. So in August I have Maoism, A History by Julia Lovett, Culture in the Third Reich, I'm blanking on the author's name, and then The Memory of Souls by Jen Lyons, and a book by the next book in the Grave of Empire series by Sam Sykes coming in, and so I'm thinking, okay, I need to cut somebody if I want to be able to buy in the moment. Basically, there's a sale on at a Libras, or I just want to go look around and buy some books. I need to really kind of cut down on something. I know I want the history. I know I want the Maoism book and the culture book. So I'm thinking about canceling the fantasy pre-orders. I know with the Chorus of Dragons series by Jen Lyons, I liked The Ruin of Kings, although it didn't really make me want to luxuriate. I kind of sped through it, or did a variation of Steve Donohue's reading technique that I'm not particularly fond of. So I went ahead and I pre-ordered and picked up The Shape of All Things, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. And I really should probably decide, okay, do I really want to continue on with this series? I liked The Ruin of Kings, but is it really enough that I want to continue on with the series? Particularly given that I think Lyons makes a few major mistakes in that book. And then with Sam Sykes, I mean, yeah, I have his first trilogy and the first book of this new trilogy or series. I don't know if it's a trilogy or not, but do I actually even like him? I've never actually gotten around to reading him, so maybe I should actually sit down and read his work before I decide whether or not I want to buy his latest. And of course, that's setting aside the whole drama that's currently surrounding him. And then on October, there's very much a similar situation. Um, there's the latest book by Adrian Goldsworthy coming out, which is, I'm thinking, a double biography of Philip and Alexander that I am there for. I'm like, I want that book now. I'm a huge, uh, I love that early Hellenistic period. So I am there for that book. I will get that book when it comes out. I've also pre-ordered Claire Saffitz's Dessert Person. For those of you who don't know, Claire Saffitz is a pastry chef who does the Gourmet Makes videos for the Bon Appetit YouTube channel, which is currently on hiatus because of um, the fallout from the toxic and racist and probably sexist work culture that seems to have permeated Bon Appetit for at least a decade. So yeah, I'm still want that book, although cookbooks are notoriously expensive. So, but I do want that cookbook. Um, and then of course I have two fantasies coming out that I want. Yoon Ha Lee's Phoenix Extravagant, which is a new series not related to the Hexarchate series, of which I've got the whole trilogy. Haven't gotten around to the short fiction or the short story collection that's associated with it, and the concluding volume of Asuma Zahanet Khan's The Coruscant Archive, the Bone Blade, or is it the Blade Bone? Yeah, so I'm kind of debating whether I should hold off on those and maybe get them at a later date. So, yeah. Which I think is probably what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to basically focus on the histories and then come back around and pick up the fantasies later on. Also, an added complication is that in August, Golden's Book Exchange will be having their bi-monthly sale, and then in October there's the Friends of the Library book sale, which I want to go, even though obviously with the pandemic, I don't know if it's really would be a wise thing to actually physically go, assuming they're still having them. I want to say Golden's probably will have its sale. I mean, they're back open, although with truncated hours and days of operation. And I haven't heard much from the Friends of the Library, but I'm pretty sure since they're taking donations now that they're going to have their book sale, although maybe expanding it out from where it's initially, like their room at the convention center. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do, and I will probably do a video when I rearrange my library and let you know how it goes. I won't do like a library tour. I'll do that in December. I think my version of Vlogmas will be I will do a library tour throughout the month of December, including weekends this year. I will do even on weekends, since I don't do films on, or I don't upload videos on the weekends, but I will for my next library tour. Anyway, BookTube, I think I have rambled on long enough, and I am very sorry for this ramble. So yeah, I will probably be back tomorrow with another video, maybe another tag video if one comes up, maybe a bit more tag necromancy. There's a lot of the foodie tags from Literary Gladiators I want to do. There's a few more tags I've seen on Steve Donahue's channel from a few years ago that I want to do. So yeah, expect for maybe another tag video tomorrow, and then obviously weekly reads Friday, and also expect an art space tour, maybe either Friday or sometime next week. Although, please don't laugh so. Yeah, the current painting I'm doing is, I like the background. Not entirely sure about the face of the person I did. But at least it's going to be a good laugh and maybe a bit valuable in like sort of showing the struggle of art rather than like getting it right and on the first go. But anyway, I have definitely at this point rambled far too much, BookTube, so I'm going to call it an afternoon and wish everybody a happy afternoon, and please stay safe. Thank you, BookTube.